Have you ever felt like your real estate career isn't working the way you want it to work? And do you feel like what you got sold on when you entered into real estate is different than what you're experiencing? If so, you need to listen to this episode. We're going to talk about the 10 things your broker does not want to tell you, because if he told you the truth, you wouldn't want to get into real estate. So stay tuned. We're going to share all of that stuff with you and ways to power through and make it in real estate. Welcome to the Agent Bridge podcast. I'm Brandon Baca, Marine Corps veteran and 15-year realtor, broker, and coach.
And I'm Arl Hessen. I'm a Fortune 500 C-suite executive, real estate investor, and entrepreneur.
The Agent Bridge is the proven path to real estate success without the burnout. Guys, I'm excited to get in this week. 10 things your broker doesn't want to tell you. You know, a lot of times we're just looking at these real estate agents out there that are so successful and they're doing this and they're doing that. But the reality of it is, if you want to have a long-term successful career, there are going to be ups and downs. And one of the things we're good at in the real estate business is making everything look amazing, right? Even as brokers, we do the same thing. We want to, if somebody's had a really good month, we want to promote them and show, hey, look how great our training is. Look how great our brokerage is, our culture is. This person's been able to do this. And the reality of it is, for a sustained career in real estate, there are just going to be ups and downs. And we're going to talk about all of that in today's episode. But before we get in, we want to talk about, first, make sure you guys please like, subscribe. And one other thing, if you would, take a minute and leave us a comment. At least said, hey, good show, crappy show, whatever.
Yeah, we hate you.
Right.
Please stop.
Yeah. But
us.
leave a comment, because we're wanting to up our comments. We've got some exciting merch coming. So we're going to start giving out some merch based on some things that we are, some criteria that we're going to lay out there for you guys. So that's coming up, but make sure you like, subscribe, follow whatever platform, and so that way we can, and comment, so that way we can have some good feedback from you guys on which we can develop future episodes. Let's talk about the market, though, as we always do. Give us a market update, RL. Where are we?
Well, at least for rates are looking pretty good. So, I think the last time we did a market update, if I'm not mistaken, rates had like crested 7 and they were looking really horrible. And they were the highest they had been since like last November, I believe. I can't remember exactly when we did the last market update, but I think that was the case. But, now they were down to like 6.79. We were locking people, if they were willing to pay for just a little bit of points, not even that much. Like I was seeing people locking in the 5s, which was great again, just to see that sub 6 row.
5, yeah.
I've actually had a few people that the points were palatable enough to lock at 5-0.
Wow. Okay.
So I've got 2 loans under contract right now that are at 5-0, which is not bad.
That's fantastic.
I mean, historically, actually really good. So, yeah, so it's starting to be encouraging. You can almost like feel the pressure point. Like, say, like, all right, people are like, all right, I'm gonna start looking like
yes.
anything 5, I'm okay, but just don't give me 7.
There is that intangible, and I think both of you and I have shared this with each other. We're busy. We're having tons and tons of conversations, both with real estate agents, with buyers and sellers. So there is this bit of intangible activity that's going on in the marketplace. I can't quite put my finger on it, but it's starting to feel a little more normal again.
Yep.
Right? We're starting to see movement, and we're getting more phone calls. We're having more interactions. We're talking to people getting ready to buy, sell, or invest. And that's kind of what we've shared with each other.
I had 21 mortgage conversations the day the rates hit 6.8.
Wow.
21.
Okay. That's crazy.
And there were weeks where I was not having 21 mortgage conversations when the rates were above 7.
Yeah.
So, which is terrible. I mean, just like we tell you guys to do with real estate, you need to be having conversations. I wasn't having any conversations because people are like, I'm just too scared of the rates.
Right.
And, understandably so. I mean, it just gets so much more expensive to buy a house at 7.2 than it does at 5.9.
That's exactly right.
But, the fact that there are enough people out there that want to buy, they just can't right now, is encouraging, because they're headed in the right direction. I don't know how much longer it's going to take. Mm-hmm. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you where rates are going to be. Anybody that says this is where rates are going to be in 12 months is going to be either high, low, or right. Mm-hmm. We don't know, because that's just me saying, like, nobody knows what the rates are going to look like. Nobody can predict the next COVID. Nobody can predict the next, real estate market crash, anything. So We don't know where they're going to be in the future, but I know they're headed in a direction that's positive. So
Yeah, no question. All right. So as we're kind of going back into normalcy, you guys stay tuned, stay plugged into the podcast so we can share that stuff with you as we go along, working through this marketplace together. I want to get into the content now, and I was talking to you before this. I was like, I don't know if this is more of a podcast or event session.
Are we having an Angry Brandon episode?
I don't know. We might have another Angry Brandon episode, but basically like, okay, these are things that we come up against in real estate. And one of the things is like, as brokers and as team leaders and as all of this stuff, we like to make things, right? We market, right? So we want to make things look as good as they can. That's, by the way, that is not just brokers. That's everybody. That's every product you've ever bought, right?
Yeah. I mean, if anybody's ever been in, like, I'll do two examples. Yeah. Anybody's ever been in IT and gone through a demo of a product and then actually bought the product and tried to implement it, it's never the same.
Right.
They've got this perfected demo environment that has nothing outside the box.
Right.
But then, when people say we've got 100% commission in our brokerage, it's almost never true. Like they have some sort of fees on the back end that scale to the purchase price of the property or whatever it is.
Right.
There's always unique commission structures. It's never exactly what it seems. Trust me.
Right. And you guys know this. And so we're looking at this as an opportunity to just share, to be transparent with you, to be real with you about what real estate is. Whether you're a brand new agent, whether you're an experienced agent, you're probably gonna feel good after this session. You'll be like, okay, it's not just me. But we want to be honest and transparent with you about what the real estate business is. And so let's get in here. So number one, this is the number one thing, but it might be the most important thing. It is always going to take longer than you think it's going to take. Yeah. As an entrepreneur, because that's what you are, you're a business owner, you're an entrepreneur, you're getting out there, right? For me, even still to this day, things take longer than you think they're going to take.
Yeah.
So when you're, doing lead generation, you're filling your pipeline, it's more important that you develop a rhythm, and that's another point. I don't want to get too far into that, but a rhythm versus solely base your emotional reaction on results. And so agents get so frustrated about how long it'll take. And I put a reel in this week. It was like, okay, you think it's like 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, nothing's really happening, 10 weeks, right, of doing consistent activity. And the reality of it is the work you do today is going to pay off in 6 months.
Yeah. At best, you're getting your first paycheck in 60 to 90 days at best.
Yeah.
And that is like you had somebody in the back pocket as you were getting your license, and you're going to contract them within 30 days and then close within 30 days at best.
90 days is your grandma was waiting on you to get your license so you could put her house on the market.
Yeah. But what you just said is the most important thing, which is the work you do today is future pay in 6 months. It's not pay in 30 days. It's not pay in 60 days. You are building a pipeline that's going to pay off in 6 months.
So if you're a real estate agent and you're used to getting paid in, every 2 weeks or every month or whatever the case may be, that you can get really strung out, and emotionally, and you're like, man, I don't feel like anything's working, and you can't trust your feelings.
No.
Because that work, again, it will pay off. I guarantee it will pay off if you're doing the right things, the things that we've talked about in this podcast. Go back to supercharge your success. But if you're doing those things, I guarantee you it will work. It's just going to take some time.
The reason why people burn out in 2 years, and that's the failure rate for agents, is that 2 year mark, is because it takes about 2 years to get going. And so people say, hey, I'm 2 years in and I've got not much happening. Well, it might take you that third year. I mean, we just talked about it. I'm not sure which section this is going to fall in on the Nick podcast, whether it's first or second, but we talked about that a lot on that podcast. Was like, look, like it takes a while. Mm-hmm. Like his third year was the year he really exploded. And that was similar to how you described your business. It's similar to how my business is operated. It just takes that time.
I always like think of it like, it's like going through like high school or college. It's like, your freshman year, you're just figuring it out and you're bumping into the walls and you don't know where anything is on campus. And then your sophomore year, starting to get a little bit going. So that's your second year. Your junior and senior year is where you're sort of that professional, and then you graduate, and then it really goes. But you've got to. That doesn't mean you're not making money in that course of those 4 years. That's not what we're saying at all. But what we're saying is like you're not even going to feel like you know what you're doing until or start to feel like you know what you're doing until the 2-year mark.
Well, you know what I think it is? Most people come from a different profession. Most people, save for your daughter, most people don't graduate high school and jump right into real estate and, you know, have like someone who's been, you know, teaching them and mentoring them for a long time. And like she has, and she's been around it for a long time. Most people don't have that. So they left a career for a new career. Nobody sees you as that. They see you as what you were before.
Right.
It's going to take 2 years to ditch that corporate shell or that paint salesman shell or whatever it is to really grow and blossom into real estate. And then it also takes that time to start getting your personal referrals. People who bought from you in the first 2 years are now referring you out, and you're starting to get new business from them. So all of this stuff takes time. These seeds are planted and they take time to grow. It's just not just instant.
The other thing that, you know, I was talking to a friend of mine, you know, of course, here we're in Nashville and we're around entertainment a lot. And they were talking about one of the things they'll say, Nashville's a 10-year town. So to be a professional musician, you're going to have to put in 10 years. But the other thing was the speed. So you sort of feel like people are looking at you and judging you. And if you don't show quick success, that there are, you know, they think you're not a professional. So you're sort of, you have this weird interaction with the people that are around you or, you know, in your church or at your kid's school or whatever. But the reality of it is you're living your life in slow motion, right? They see your life as fast forward. So when you hit that success button and the 2-year or 3-year or 4-year mark, they go, man, you just got into real estate and you're killing it. They're just not paying attention that much. And so don't really worry about the comparison thing, right? Or don't really worry about, you know, what other people are thinking about you being in real estate. Just get after it, make things happen, and it will pay off.
They want to see you prove it. They want to see that you're out there conducting real estate activity, and people start to trust you.
Yeah. Point number 2, your main job is not showing houses, writing contracts. That's what everybody, you know, you watch Selling Sunset, you watch all of these TV shows, everybody's driving buyers around in their car, they're doing deals, you know, all that stuff. That is not the job, right? It is a part of a job. It's a function of the job, but the job is getting new business. It's lead generation. And so otherwise you're just waiting on something to happen that's never going to come.
Yeah, you know what's funny is we had some gentlemen over to see the studio, and they're crushing it. All the guys that came over to view the studio, they're all crushing it. But we had a conversation about this while they were here, right? It's like, when you don't feel busy, you get scared. And the ways you feel busy are running around in your car, writing contracts, doing all these things that aren't generating new business.
Right.
But you feel busy, so it feels like a security blanket. But in reality, you start to learn real quick, hey, man, I'm going to get burnt to the ground like this.
Yes.
Like, I've got to get off of doing that and on to generating new business, and that's the way I'm going to make money.
That's exactly right. And so you've got to focus on making sure you're doing those right daily activities. And one of them is if you're scared to make outbound phone calls to people you don't know, you're going to have a long, hard road in real estate. And look, you've got to get comfortable talking to people about real estate that you don't know.
Yeah.
Period.
I mean, even if you hang up the phone and somebody on the other end says, oh, that person was at Yahoo, like, I'm never going to buy or sell from them. So what? There's more. You're going to pick up the phone. You're going to make another call.
Right. Whether it's for sell by owners or open houses or any of the lead generation tactics that we've talked about, you're going to have to do it. There's not really any way around it. And I've even had people it's like, well, I like open houses better than for sell by owners, or I like for sell by owners better than open houses. Look, at the beginning of your career, you need experience with all types of lead sources. Yes, you are going to find that you more easily gravitate towards one versus the other. Okay. I'm not going to argue that, or you're going to be naturally better at one than the other, but you still need to have functionality in all of them.
Well, guess what? When your pipeline's full, you get that luxury.
Yeah.
You can decide which one you want to do. But when it's exactly not full, you don't.
Yeah. And you don't have to do those things forever. I mean, you're going to build up, you know, you'll build up a referral business over time, but most of the people that you build the referral business with are people that you didn't know before.
Yeah.
So you've got to be comfortable. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times have we just been like just out and about in the community, and we have run into buyers and sellers, right, that we didn't know, but just even having conversations.
Yeah.
You know, I ran into somebody on the plane, and they were coming to Nashville to do some house shopping. They said, this is great. We don't have a realtor. Can you help us? Not only did they buy houses, but we ended up buying like 3 other houses just because I was willing to be open and have a conversation on a plane, which what do most people do when they get on a plane?
Yep.
That's right. So you got to be able to talk. You have to be able to talk to people, make outbound calls, have conversations that make you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Number 3. Okay, are you listening? Your friends and your family probably most likely will not use you at the beginning of your career, and you will be betrayed by them. Okay. I've heard it. I can't even tell you that. I mean, it's a sad story, and I've heard every single one of them. Ask any realtor that's been doing this for longer than 2 years, and they have a sob story about how their mom, dad, brother, sister, first cousin, best friend, right? So, like as a broker, it's like, if you're going to come to me and whine about somebody that not using you, hit the door, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, guess what? You and everybody else in this business.
I've got to have a conversation with myself right now, because my wife and I just got word, a really close family friend of mine,
Okay.
Grew up, and this was basically my second set of parents. We went everywhere with them. My mom was kind of by herself, so we went everywhere with this family. They had 4 sons, very close with them. Before COVID hit, I was showing one of the sons, one of my peers, a couple properties, and he wasn't quite ready to buy, but I was just showing him what was out there, and we didn't end up doing anything. But I just found out last week he bought a house, and I don't know the details of it. I haven't called him to be like, come on, man. But you never get rid of that feeling.
No.
Like we are talking to ourselves when we say this.
Yes.
Just to say that openly and honestly, like my feelings were hurt. I was frustrated. I was like, come on.
Why didn't
like,
he call me? Yeah. It's like, what did I do wrong? Yeah.
You know what? There's usually a story there. Yeah. I don't know the details yet. Like I said, I got to call him, but my assumption is that the way I know him, he probably knew the person selling it, and they worked out a deal, between themselves, and he bought a house. But there's always usually a story, whether or not it's they don't know you as the agent in their network yet, which is your fault, not their fault.
Sure.
Or, that they have multiple people that they're close with and they can't use them all. Yeah. Or they have some, privacy concerns, and they don't want to use the people closest to them for certain situations. I've had that a lot as a lender. I'll tell you that. People are more willing to use you as a real estate agent than they are as a lender if you are very close.
Yeah, because you're in your bank account.
You're in W-2s. You're in how much they're making, how much debt they have, all of it.
Yeah, one of the things that I will tell you though is like your garbage that's in your bank account. Everybody has it. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's like everybody's got all the stuff you're worried about somebody finding. Everybody's got it in their bank account. So, look. But the more important part is like, even for me, even for RL, even for, the nicest people in the world, the best realtors in the world, everybody has had somebody that they know and love and are close to not use them. And you've got to change your narrative around it. Look, I'm not saying it's not going to hurt. And I'm not saying that you're not going to count the commission. Okay. I know you're going to count the commission and you're going to go, I could have made $21,000 on that. Okay. But the reality of it is, it's like, just assume the best. Say, hey, look, for whatever reason, they didn't want, either they needed to use this person. Maybe they felt like this person called them the week prior and said, hey, I'm in a really bad place right now. And hey, would you pray for me? And they thought, well, I got to use this person who knows, right? So just assume the best from that scenario.
You're always, like you said, you're always going to have to deal with it. Your feelings are always going to be hurt. Just learn how to, just construct a narrative around it that's positive and move on. Because I thought about that for like 30 minutes, and then I was like, all right, I'm on to the next thing.
All right, number 4. Okay, if you walk into my office and you go, hey, my buyers are crazy, my sellers are crazy, I'm going to be like, yeah, yours and everybody else's. I know, right? Because when clients, I don't care how close they are to you, when clients are in high stress situations, they go nuts. They are operating from a high stress state, and they are not themselves. And everybody in a transaction is crazy.
100%.
Everybody.
Always.
Right? I mean, you over the course of my career, like I can name the people who I had really smooth transactions and they kept a cool head. Most people are going to lose their mind somewhere in the middle of it, and it's going to be your fault.
Yeah,
right?
So like smooth transactions, three total.
Yeah, exactly. In all my years, right? I mean, as much as I can sort of like, prep them for it, as much as I can, set expectations. That's one of the things we talk about. People just, they're functioning from not only are they're having their finances dug into, they're having to report on everything. They're having to go on their work time and find their tax returns. And, there's all this stuff that has to happen, and they're moving, and they're arranging for moving, and they're trying to figure out what to do with the kids. And people are just in a high stress state. So yeah, they're going to be crazy. I know. And it's your job to be the cool head in the transaction.
It's almost always true though. And we talked about this a little yesterday when we talked about, sometimes you have to have firm, frank conversations with people is, I get through a process with them, whether it's real estate or mortgage, and I get to the end and I'm like, oh, I bet they hate me. Like, cause I had to like drill them on this, drill them on that, set them straight, calm them down. And almost always they send me a text or call me afterwards when we're done and just be like, hey, I just want to thank you for how, calm and collected you were through this process or something like that. It's some sort of message like that. I just got one right before the podcast for a loan that was pretty stressful. There was a lot of ups and downs because it was a very unique case. And he and his wife both sent me an individual text saying, hey, I just want to thank you. You were awesome.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so but you're right. People are crazy and they're going to act differently, and it's going to be stressful for everybody involved, but you just stay cool, stay calm, stay collected, and then it'll work out in the end.
By the way, to the last point, it's like your friends are not going to use you. When they do use you, you're going to be like, I'm not sure we want to be friends anymore.
A lot of times.
You're like, I don't even know this person.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, sometimes, and I don't know, I've done this a couple of times in my career where I'm like, hey, I've known my friend well enough to go, I don't think this is going to work on a business. And I've referred him out. And to a realtor from a different company, because I didn't want to have anything to do with it. Because as much as I love them as a friend, I know they could have the high potential of being a nightmare client. And I was just like, I would just really want to stay friends with you. Yeah. So let me just refer you out.
Yeah.
I didn't tell them that I think they're going to be a nightmare client, but I just said, let's stay friends.
Yeah.
So
it can, especially, family is almost worse because they have super lofty expectations of you, but they expect the most discounts, the most savings, the most, like if you're listing, they want this. If you're buying, they want you to cut commission to save the purchase price, all this. So
right. They're like, we're getting the family discount on this. Yes. Yeah. Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're getting 7% instead of 6.
All right. Number 5, this is a high stress job. And here's the reason why. It's impossible not to think about the commission when you're doing a deal. As I said, realtors are terrible at math, except for one thing. They're great at calculating 3% of any number, right? A $700,000 deal, that's $21,000, right? Realtors know. And then they can do, whatever their commission split is of their brokerage, right? So the problem is what causes the stress is the second you get that deal under contract, okay, you've calculated the commission. So when that deal gets fuzzy, right, or you get into the inspections, or you get, the financing gets a little wonky or whatever, you've won and lost that money like 10 times throughout the course of the transaction. It's like, I got $10,000. Oh man, I just lost $10,000. Oh wait, I got the $10,000 back. Oh, I just lost it again.
Oh, $21,000 slot machine pull. Oh, zero.
Exactly. So it just feels like you can't help but think about that, right? That's where your brain is going to go, especially if it's one of your first deals. And so it's just going to be high stress now. It's a roller coaster of emotion.
The more familiar you get with the process, the bigger you build your pipeline, all of that stress starts to diminish. I'm not saying that deals aren't stressful from time to time, but if you've got a big pipeline and you've done this more than, a couple times now, and you're starting to understand exactly how everything works, and you're starting to see more and more different scenarios and learn how to navigate them, it gets a lot less stressful. So the only thing that I can tell you about this is just to get out there and do it in the field and just be a real estate agent, learn the ropes, and it'll be less stressful.
It will. Yeah. The more experience you get and you start to sort of temper those highs and the lows. But what I can tell you, which is a little bit of a rabbit trail, the more you can be, how do I want to explain this? Like the people who try to grab a deal and tear it through, right? You're more likely to lose the deal because the clients are going to feel pressured or people are going to feel pressured. The more you can kind of like give yourself some time to process, give the clients time to process, all of that stuff, the better the transaction is going to go. So as much as you can, I don't know if deferential is the right word, but basically just have some peace that things are like 90% of these deals are going to close because you got somebody that really wants to sell it. Then you have somebody that really wants to buy it. Okay. Or they wouldn't even be there. So have some faith, right? 90% of them are going to go through. 10% of them are not. You can't really change those numbers. And the more you have in the pipeline, the better.
Nick talked about this a lot about, and I thought this was a good thought. And I think both of us do this subconsciously, but he just put it into words. Is just making sure that people know what happens next. And I think the more you can do that, the more there's not that unknown around the corner, people get less crazy and people get less stress, which means less stress for you. So even if it's letting them understand what happens to earnest money when contingencies fall apart or things like that. So it's like, what if the more they know about what happens next, I feel like everybody's lives are like easier.
Yeah. All right. Number 6, practice is more important than training. And the field is really your training. Okay. So here's what I mean by that. Because when we have a lot of like language in the real estate world, it's like, oh, I need more training. We've talked about this before. Okay. But what you need is more experience.
Yeah.
You need more scenarios. Like you need to get out there and have some interaction. So as a broker, like one of the things is, it's like, well, hey, can I sit in a contract class? Yeah, sure. Here's 10 contracts. Go fill them out. Okay. Now I'm not saying that you shouldn't go to a contract class. That's not what I'm saying, but you're going to go to a contract class. It's going to be so dry and so boring, and you're not even going to remember any of it. Okay. You're better off. It's like, I'm not saying don't go take one. The best way to do it is take a stack of 10 and fill them out with different scenarios. I'll give you the 10 scenarios as your broker. Have another realtor that give you 10 scenarios and just work through it. But the reality of it is when it comes time to actually write a contract, you are going to have, I don't care what contract class you took, you're going to have no idea what to do and no idea what to put down.
I can't tell you how many times we've made this suggestion to agents who say they didn't understand the contract class or didn't end up making it to the contract class or never went to one or didn't want to go to one or whatever. You tell them to go fill out 10 contracts with 10 different scenarios. Nobody ever does it.
No.
But that is the easiest way to make sure that the next time you actually have to write a contract that you're going to know what you're doing.
You're better off. I would say you're better off going to a contract class after you've done a couple of them with your mentor.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have a little more like knowledge or experience to draw from.
Absolutely.
And that's going to be more practical application. So it's like, don't wait to know everything before you take action. Just get out there, make the mistakes, be willing to make mistakes, be willing to do things and kind of figure it out, be willing to, feel like a dummy from time to time because you're not going to know everything. You're not going to be able to present yourself as knowledgeable until you have these experiences where you screw things up.
Yeah. You want some advice? Go to your next buyer and go through a contract in whatever state you're in and make a list of everything that contract requires you to know from the buyer. And when the buyer's ready to make an offer, ask them that list, have that list already ready to go. They're going to give you all the answers. You're going to plug it in the contract. They're going to sign it and you're going to move on and you won't have to text them back and forth. Oh, I forgot to ask about how much earnest money. Oh, I forgot to ask about this. Yeah. You're going to be organized, thoughtful, and they're going to be like, I want to use this person. This person's good.
And as a subset of that, the field is your training. You need to have a mentor, right? You need to have somebody that you can reach out to, walk through with, right? These scenarios, because it's dependent. Like your ability to get these deals under contract is going to be dependent upon you having someone to lean on to help you form them and put them together. And, honestly, even this far into our careers, you and I still bounce things off of each other to make sure we're doing the right thing.
Yeah, I did last night. I asked you a question last night. Yeah. I had an idea of what my answer was, but I wanted to hear it. I wanted to validate my own opinion.
Right. So that's real estate, though. It's like every situation is different and you need somebody to be able to talk with. So whether that's a more experienced agent, look, or if you've got a mentorship program in your brokerage, you should absolutely pay whatever extra commission because what you're going to make money, because if you don't use that mentor, you're going to lose money because you're not going to get the multiple offer because you're not going to want to know what to put in there. You're going to bust the deal because you didn't write the contract right. I mean, there's so many things that can go wrong. So you need somebody who knows what they're doing. Okay. So pay the extra whatever if it's a mentorship program. Okay. Number 7. This is a funny one for me. Okay. I know you want to be an investor. Okay. And I know you probably want to get into commercial too. Okay. But first, I want you to learn how to make money selling residential property. Okay. Because everybody, it's so funny because it's like everybody that comes into my office now, is there like a show or something where people are like real big in investors, or is it like a big podcast or something?
I think everybody's seeing the money people made during COVID.
I want to be an investor. Yeah, you and everybody else wants to be an investor. But guess what? You know what investors have? They have money. And you know where they got that money? It wasn't from just doing investing, right? They had to make an income first before they got into investing. It's like, okay. And honestly, like those investment deals, they don't pay off like immediately. It's like you're talking about a 10, 20, 30 year program to live off of passive income from investments.
I've had properties that I bought 15 years ago that have made me $0.00 yet, but eventually when I sell them, they will.
I mean, they're building net worth through equity and stuff like that. Yeah. But that is so true though, because people are just like, man, I want to get. I'm like, yeah, I know you want to get into investing. Everybody wants to get into investing, but you got to learn how to make money. And the other thing that I'll, like. What I tell people, whether it's commercial or investing or whatever the case may be, right? Commercial deals and yes, there's going to be specialty with commercial firms and stuff like that. But what's great about residential is you have a shorter time frame to make money. Okay, commercial is like it's like sometimes you might be working on a deal. It might take a year for that deal to come together. Or longer.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're wanting to get into commercial real estate, and some firms allow you to do commercial real estate, a lot of them don't. Maybe you go into commercial, but let me tell you something. If you go strictly into commercial, you better have a pile of money you're sitting on somewhere, because it's going to take some time to build that thing up.
And if you think the learning curve is steep for regular real estate, commercial is even steeper.
Yeah, that's right. So, but regardless, like the point of this being is like you need to learn how to source income, and the fastest way to source income in my mind is to do it through selling residential property. You're not carrying inventory. Your risk is really low. You're moving paperwork around. Basically, the risk is your income versus, buying and owning a house and trying to flip it and then can't get the contractor to show up.
It's just going to distract you from what you need to do to make money.
Right. So establish income. And honestly, the better you are at selling residential property, 2 things are going to happen. One of them is the more likely you are to stumble on really good deals because you're out in the field and you're talking to people a lot. Okay. So you can find those deals that didn't even hit the market. And so that's one of the benefits.
Yeah.
And what was I going to say? Oh, and the more likely you are to meet people who can do commercial deals. You will meet business owners through selling residential property.
Yeah.
So,
there's all, I mean, I can't, this is a very poor, broad statement, but there's very few legit deals out there that are on the MLS that everybody can see.
Yeah.
Almost any time I buy a investment property today, it's because I know a developer that's got 100 condos that are going to hit the market 3 years from now, and I'm going to pre-buy 5 of them and sell them the day that they actually get completed in 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the kinds of, real estate deals I'm doing now, because there's so many investors. Everybody knows about Nashville. If it's on the MLS, every investor in the, country is looking at it. So
I know
there's not that many out there unless, the more you practice real estate, the more you meet people who can do those kinds of deals.
Right.
Where, hey, this condominium complex hasn't even been approved yet,
Mm-hmm.
but once it gets approved, then it'll be a 4-year build cycle, and then you'll have units that go live in 2028 or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? You can buy one in 2023.
Right. Exactly. Okay. So yes, learn how to make money before you start focusing on investments. All right. Number 8, commitment trumps enthusiasm. You are going to be excited at the beginning. That excitement is going to wane, but it's the commitment that's going to pull you through. I kind of think of it like, I might get in trouble for this. I think of it like marriage, okay? right? Like at the beginning of your relationship with your significant other, you guys are like head over heels, falling in love with each other, can't spend enough time together, all that stuff. But at some point, all of the woo woo feel good part of it starts to subside. And I'm not saying that you can't have romance, and I'm not saying that you can't enjoy your marriage. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is at some point, there's work that needs to be done, right? Because guess what? People are in love and they get married and you got to pay bills and you got to raise kids. And there are things that that person is going to do that you're not going to like, right? So that's the deal. It's like, I love real estate, but there are lots of little things about real estate that I don't like. And I love Andrea. I love my wife, but there's a lot of little things that she does that I'm like, I'm not crazy about, right? But that's the type of commitment that it takes to make it in this business. You know, it's like, look, I'm doing this. There are things that I'm not going to like about it, but I love I love the job. I love things about it. And I think you were saying that actually not even looking at this before the episode, because you're like, man, as busy as this is, right? And I feel crazy. What were you saying about it?
Yeah, just the fact that you get so busy and they're moving and they're happening, but we just need some chips to fall with like rates and people to jump out of the woodwork to start buying before the real waterfall hits. Yeah. But like there's just enough interest in buying to prove that there is a giant market that's about to shift back in our direction.
Right.
Just we don't know how long it's going to take.
But the other thing you're saying is like you would rather be doing this.
Oh,
right.
Oh, that. All right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Picked the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Yes. So as busy as I am right now, as crazy as it is, I have control over my schedule, and I've always been able to maintain that. I've always kept that. It's one of the things we teach here. It's one of the things we implement in our own lives. I have control over my schedule. I choose to work some crazy hours right now to get some things done because, things are moving, but I'm not a slave to the corporate world. I'm not a slave to someone else. I'm not sitting in board meetings that I want to be in. I'm not driving to an office from 8 to 5 and waiting for that bell to ring. Like I have full control over my life, which I much more enjoy.
Right. And so it's like, you will love this job, right? But you've got to be committed, and you can't do it based on emotion, because there are going to be so many days where you wake up and you do not feel like it. And there are going to be so many days where you're going to pull your hair out because this one client is doing this and this one client is doing that. But when you kind of take a step back and you do your gratitude practices, like you're going to love the job, right? You're going to love being in real estate, even though there are lots of little things, but that you don't like. But again, commitment, like you got to be committed to it. You have to see it through. And it's like, look, you can't fail if you don't quit, right? And failure is not an option. If you can embody that, right, and push through and remember why you got into this, and remember, there are so many times where, even now, right, where I go, I still love this, right? Yeah. And there are some really difficult things that we've encountered over the years in real estate, but I still really love this job. And so I love this career, and I love the freedom that it gives me. And so with all the good and all the bad. So stay committed, stay after it.
Yeah. For the record, I did not chime in on the spouse story. I love everything about you, babe.
I'll take the fall on that one. Yeah. All right. Number 9, your split does not matter at all. It doesn't.
The same group that we were talking about that came by the house the other day, we were having this conversation. Like, splits are it's only dictating how much time you're getting from your broker. Right. And early on in your career, I think that time is ultra important. Mm-hmm. And I think it's good to hang out with people that will mentor you, that will show you the way, that will make you a better agent for your lifelong business, not for your 30-day business or 60-day business. If they're advertising 100% commission, it's not always exactly as it seems. Yeah. But guess what that means? That means you get no help. Yeah. And I've got people that work at a 100% brokerage that I know that don't even know their broker's name.
Whatever the split is, right? What I've noticed is that realtors, right, they might, hey, this split looks good, better over here or whatever. But when you take it all into consideration, it's very, very little differentiation from one to the other, depending on if you're going to be a productive real estate agent. And so first of all, you get what you pay for, but the reality of it is, like, what we know about real estate agents is they are going to make the amount of money that they have to make.
Yeah.
right? People have a thermostat in their head, right, for their income, and most people are not going to be able to turn that thermostat off. So it's interesting because they'll move over there and then they'll go do less deals, right? Or they'll stay with one that's a little bit more engaged and inspiring and moving them forward, and they'll do more deals. But I don't see that split as really a determining factor in whether a real estate agent is successful or not.
No, I mean, and oftentimes we see people, like you just alluded to, like they'll get to the point where I've made as much money as I think I wanted to make this year, and then they'll coast. So anyway, I mean, it doesn't matter. Find somebody who's going to get you some help when you're early on in your career, help you build a business that's going to last, and, you know, be loyal to them if they're good to you.
Connect with a leader that's going to help you succeed, period. Right? I don't care what the split is. Make sure that leader, like, connect with the leader, right? And that leader will take you where you need to go. Okay. All right. Number 10, 20% of the people make 80% of the money. Okay. Of those 20%, 20% of that group makes 80% of that money. So really, most of the money is made by 5% of the agents. And you have to determine if you're going to be a 5%er or not. Okay? We know averages. Average agent sells 5.56 houses a year.
It's not enough.
Average agent sells, is going to do, of those 5.56 houses, is going to do 2.25% commission. The half of the agents in the MLS will not sell a house. Period. Okay. So that's just the reality of it. And I'm not saying those to discourage you. I'm saying them to encourage you to be the 5%, right? To adopt the habits. Because I don't think the 5% has as much to do with skill set as it has to do with mindset.
Oh, 100%.
And it's like the 5%ers are, okay, that 5% show up. Okay. They are the most engaged. Okay. So they show up, they come to things. Okay. They come to the trainings, they come to the meetings, they come to that stuff, right? Because they know one thing. It's like they need the meeting or the meeting needs them, right? They're plugged in. Okay. The 5% take action, right? They do the things that they're being taught and they're learning from those experiences. They're not waiting for something to happen. And, I mean, it's just, again, it's a mindset thing, right?
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, the more skills you gain by being out in the field, the better you're going to be able to get excited about getting up in the morning and excited about making those phone calls, excited about taking action. So just start somewhere, get going.
Well, I feel better. I feel like this is a little bit of therapy for me, right? This is what I want to tell real estate agents as they are, if there's, out there getting into real estate, if they are, hey, what's the secret sauce? What am I missing? Everything we shared in this episode it's real.
Oh yeah.
Right. And this is not, real estate is not get rich quick. It is get rich slow. And the other thing is you're going to have seasons of success and seasons of struggle in real estate. I've used this example before. This is a golf example. So sorry if you're not a golf fan, but I was talking to a buddy. He's like back when like Jordan Spieth was just crushing, right? And my buddy, who's a big golf fan, was like, yeah, he's not going to be able to keep up that putting though for very long, right? That degree of putting, because he was just crushing it, right? And he was right. It's like there are times where, like, Jordan Spieth is an amazing golfer, but he's going to have seasons of where he's just really dialed in and seasons where he's not, even as a pro.
Yeah. In the cycling world, we call it peaking. Like you're peaking for a certain race throughout the year. But that doesn't mean that you're going to be that same level of fitness the entire year. It's impossible to maintain. So
yeah, and the thing that's really going to crush you is that idea of comparison, because you're looking at, especially the social media, and again, we're guilty of this, but you're promoting like everybody's highlight reel, right? In their real estate career, we're talking about this person who did this thing and that was amazing. But it's going to be very hard for that individual real estate agent to keep up that level of performance consistently every single week, every single month, every single whatever. Because guess what? They're human beings, and there are ups and downs in everybody's career.
Yep.
And so you're going to have, you're gonna have seasons of where you're just crushing it, and seasons where you're really struggling through. But the reality of it is, you've got to stick with it. Do not quit. Keep moving forward, and you're gonna make it, right? And you're gonna get back to a good season. So, anything else we need to sort of cap that with?
No, I liked it. I liked this episode. And honestly, if somebody quits real estate within that first 2 years, the reason's on this list.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Guys, thank you so much. As always, make sure you like and subscribe. Follow us on whatever platform you are currently listening to us. Give us some feedback, comment, and we look forward to seeing you guys on the next episode.
Thanks.